Hey guys, so one name that you probably haven't heard of for a long time is Frogan, as regarding the copyright lawsuit. We haven't really been able to cover her because she has extended. There was the problem with the serving Frogan the lawsuit, and that ended up with her having more time. She also chose to go with a different law firm. So the timetable is completely off on Frogan when you compare it to how close the timetable on Denon's would be with Caseytron. They have the same lawyer. They were served basically on the same day. Might have been a 1 day difference. Here, our last update is October 4th, 2025, 10:52 a.m. So that was a updated. We will probably see something happen very, very soon. You see here order granting joint stipulation, extending the deadline for defendant to respond to the complaint by Judge John F. Walter. The deadline would be extended to October 3rd, 2025. So she did get the extension, and it looks like she may be using the full amount of extension. Now, in my opinion, so it has been last updated. So something probably happened. So last updated October 4th. That would be today or yesterday as to the video. We will likely see some documents come down and we will cover them on Monday. But Frogan definitely waited until the very end, and this is kind of the idea of the service as well. See, delayed and delayed and delayed. And she will ask for max extensions. She has a max extension. So for the H-Free Snark, to give you a contrast, H-Free Snark published God knows how much 10,000 hours of content that would take a lawyer to look at, a judge to look at. They were extended by 1 week. Frogan, on the other hand, was extended from August all the way to from August 4th, which is when the original due date was due, to October 3rd, right? It is all the month of August, all the month of September. It is a 60-day extension, I believe. So, given 2 months versus 1 week for the H-Free Snark, and given how much H-Free Snark had given as evidence, right? And it all has to be reviewed. I think part of what I want to explain to you is a lawyer can't just file a bunch of garbage. That's not right. A judge is not going to like that. There could be sanctions against the lawyer. We're going to talk about that. It seems like it's a associate lawyer, and the law firm itself doesn't seem that big. I'm talking about specifically H-Free Snark. I do not know why a law firm would take a case which would require them to file a declaration like that lawyer. But anyway, let's focus on Frogan. We have a whole nother video for you on that. So Frogan, we will see something, whether she likes it or not. She's been incredibly active on all social media, including Twitter, Instagram, and so on. We, yeah, I people are saying, oh, she didn't respond. I would be shocked if she did not respond. The reason being is how active she has been on social media. She's been incredibly active. Now, one point to make is when Denon's was talking about Frogan being served in the middle of the night and how this was harassment, and Ethan was using the courts to harass Frogan, and it wasn't right. And we also support each other, including her Patreon or her GoFundMe. I want to focus on that topic. Frogan could have easily, so Denon's is much larger than Frogan in the Twitch space and the Instagram space and whatever space you want it to be in. Frogan is the smaller streamer. So she could have easily took that topic and ran with it and then kind of used Denon's support, grown her following. She chose not to do that. That is based on what I know about Frogan, and it's not, again, it's not years of lore it's not to the extent that H-Free Snark would want me to emphasize, right? Because again, it's not years and years and years of lore between Frogan and Ethan and Frogan and Hassan and Frogan and Dennis. I don't know the exact relationship, but from what I can tell, Frogan would 100 out of 100 times respond to that. So in my opinion, this must mean that a lawyer of Frogan's must have told her, hey, stop. Stop responding to anything Ethan Klein related. We're not going to get, and this is probably one of the best legal pieces of advice a lawyer can give any of the free defendants here, that you really shouldn't be, especially if the goal is, and the goal should be, settle. Like, that should be the goal for all three of these defendants. In my opinion, they are very guilty. And if you're very guilty and you know what the score is, you want to just resolve it, and you will save legal fees. Maybe you have to pay $100,000, $50,000, $150,000 would be worst case scenario, in my opinion. But hey, at least you're done. You can move on with your life. Another very interesting piece about Frogan that I think is often not mentioned is the fact that she does have a job. Now, see, in the healthcare space, I cannot confirm that, but Casey Tron essentially confirmed that Frogan was worried that her wages would be garnished. Now, Casey Tron is somebody who does not have a job. When I mean a job, I mean like a 9 to 5 W-2. Twitch streaming, yeah, it's probably a job if you're spending this much time on it. I think it's, I would consider it a job. And I'm sure that these individuals probably also consider it a job. When you are looking at that, so would it shock you? Because based on, there's pictures of them together. It looks like they're having fun. They're both big Hassan fans. It wouldn't shock me if Casey Tron and Frogan had a talk about what the legal and financial ramifications of this lawsuit would be. And it wouldn't shock me at all if basically Casey Tron learned about Frogan's job and told Casey Tron, hey, I'm worried about my wages being garnished for the next 10 years because I make X or Y and Z. So it is, in my opinion, based on just that evidence from Casey Tron, that Frogan does have a real job. And at this real job, one of the, again, things he's worried about is that her wages could be garnished. In the US, at least, your wages can be garnished and basically whatever salaries he's making, 10% would go to Ethan Klein until it is paid back, or a payment plan is in place if she cannot pay the full amount within 10, 15, 20 years. It depends on state by state what the length of payment would be. So, yeah, Frogan, we are expecting a big update from Frogan. We're going to expect a response, and this response is going to be very, in my opinion, different. The reason it will be so different, because it's not coming from the same law firm. The same law firm that represents Denon and Casey Tron, their responses are very similar. Again, you can tell it's the same law firm, right? Of course, the response is going to be, even though the courts are different, one's out in Missouri, one is in California, the response to Ethan Klein's complaint is nearly identical in terms of tone and even in terms of verbiage, right? It seems like they could just simply copy and paste the same verbiage from lawsuit to lawsuit. Now, what strategies does this Frogan attorney have? And trust me, the Frogan attorney has certainly done his due diligence and looked at both Denon's and Casey Tron's lawsuits, especially being the smaller of the law firms. Will it be similar, or will it be something totally unique in terms of what the defensive arguments will be? Anyway, let me know. Pretty excited to see the document released soon.